2010,
Yes.
and you gave that testimony in earlier.
Yes.
Could you turn to page 21 now, please?
Yes.
And you see at line 12, I asked what percentage of your compensation comes from the incentive program? You
Yes.
answered 35%.
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Is that correct? About 35% of your income was from the incentive bonus.
It was comprised of not only loan originations, but deposits and a number of other things.
The entire incentive program.
Yes.
Now, I think you testified earlier that you initially had no involvement with City Center. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Was Mr. Speck's client, customer?
Yes.
And you never discussed City Center with Mr. Speck?
Not to my recollection, no.
He had left the bank before you were reassigned to the
Yes.
customer. And you don't know how he administered the loan?
No.
You took over the loan in May of 2006?
Approximately. Yes.
And when you took over the loan in May of 2006, there had already been 5 construction draws.
Is that a question?
Is that correct?
Is it a...
Yes, it's a question.
Okay. I don't know how many draws were done.
And I think you testified that you went through the file.
Objection, that's not a question. It's a statement.
Did you testify that you went through the file earlier?
Yes.
And you reviewed everything that was in the file?
Objection, that's not a question. That's a statement.
Did you review everything that was in the file?
No, that's not what he asked. What he asked. He made a statement.
This is cross-examination. I asked you.
I don't know what it is.
Did you review everything that was in the file?
Yes.
And I think, did you testify you reviewed the documents, including the drawings that were done?
The drawings,
Yes.
the construction drawings,
Correct.
I reviewed the construction drawings, yes.
Could you take the white binder, the City Center exhibits, and turn to tab 17? For the jury, I'll try to give you page numbers as we go along, but I'll also try to put them up here so if you don't want to go back from book to book. I'll have them on the screen for you. Under tab 17, could you turn to page 692? Did you look at the drawings for Hawk's Nest restaurant?
I don't recall specifically looking at them.
And as you sit here, do you know that Hawk's Nest restaurant was a restaurant the place had planned to open and operate?
As I reviewed the file, I found that out.
And could you turn back to the first page of tab 17? Do you see the date of those plans in the bottom right corner?
Yes.
What is that date?
April 22nd, 2005.
So you reviewed the plans of the base file for Hawk's Nest restaurant that were prepared on April 22nd, 2005.
If they were in the plans, then I looked at the plans, yes.
Did you also review the appraisal that the bank had done?
I did review the appraisal.
And did you review the comments on the appraisal from the verifying officer at Fifth Third?
I don't recall what's in the appraisal.
Could you turn to tab 39 of City Center's exhibits? Now, who is John Wilson?
I don't know.
You don't know that he's an employee of Fifth Third?
No, I actually don't. No.
Is this a Fifth Third internal document?
Yes.
And is that part of the documents that you reviewed in the file?
If it was in the file, then I reviewed it.
So that you knew then that on October 18th, there was an appraisal review done, and that the only space with foreseeable tenant is the subject restaurant constituting 21,600 feet of the center, and that tenant will be the owner of the center. You knew that?
If I reviewed the documents, yes.
Well, is it your testimony that you did review it?
I reviewed the documents.
So you knew that?
If I reviewed the documents and that information was in there, then yes.
And the bank knew that on October 18th, 2005, before it originated the loan, didn't it?
I don't know what the bank knew at the time. I wasn't the lending officer on the loan.
Well, earlier we were talking to Mr. Woodward about originating the loan, what was done and what was known. Didn't the
I don't think
bank know
that was
on
my
October
testimony.
18th that the owner was going to occupy Building 6 with a 21,600 square foot restaurant?
What was the question?
Didn't the bank know on October 18th, 2005, that the owner, Mr. Plank, was going to occupy Building 6 with a 21,600 square foot restaurant?
I don't know what the bank knew. I know that that was a document in the file.
Well, based upon your years of experience as a banker, when you have an officer review an appraisal and put this comment in the file, do you expect the bank would know that?
Object, calls for speculation. As to what
I
someone else
asked
is
based
doing.
upon her years of experience as a banker.
That doesn't make it any less speculative, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Also, there's been no foundation laid that there is any such procedural protocol within any bank.
I believe the witness has testified she reviewed the documents in the file. This is one of the documents in the file.
Overruled.
What was the question?
Based upon your years of experience in banking, wouldn't you expect that when an officer reviews the appraisal and puts this statement that the tenant will be the owner of a 21,600 square foot restaurant, the bank knows that?
Yes.
And the officer would have put that in there if he didn't know that to be true.
Objection again, calls for speculation as to what this officer intended when he drafted the documents.
Okay. And did you also review the permitting for the,
If it was in the file,
let me show you City Center Exhibit 33, which I'm not going to show to the jury yet. Did you review that document?
I don't remember seeing this. I don't recall if I reviewed this.
And if you did review the file and everything that was in it, including this document, you would know that the planks have gone to the town of the city of Crown Point and had this zone for residential, wouldn't you?
Yes.
And they're going to have residential living units at City Center.
Yes or no? Yes.
And that you would have known that that was the case as of September 28, 2004.
Object, Your Honor. He has to ask questions. He can't make statements. He has to ask a question. Is it true? Isn't it true? Did you?
Sure.
And he has to ask a
Is
question.
it true you would have known that as of September 28, 2004?
Yes, if that would have been in the file.
Now, this is from the Fifth Third file. Did you review it?
If it was in my file.
When your file is the bank's file, right? That's the same one and the same, right?
The file that we kept in the loan origination offices could have been different from the master file that was at the construction and draw file.
So someone at the bank would have known this, it just might not have been you.
I can't answer that question.
Now, let's start with the draws. Your first involvement was draw 6, wasn't it?
Did that occur after May?
Sure. Take a look at tab 6A. And we have an agreement. We're going to move to admit tabs 1 through 8, inclusive of the city center exhibits. Those are the 8 sworn construction statements that are
Let's
corresponding.
specify as to what they are, so I look at it.
Let's go through the road.
Is there an agreement or is there not an agreement?
I believe there is, Your Honor. Yes, these are all, we have no objection to any of these.
1 through 8A, what was
1 through 8, yes, sir.
1 through 8 is admitted.
Now, there's no, except there's no number 5. Correct?
There's 5A and 5B. Your brother corresponding to those with that 5.
Right, but there's no actual number 5.
Correct. There's no separate page 5.
Right.
So looking at tab 6A, 176, City Center submitted a draw request to Fifth Third on Friday, May 12th. Do you recall getting that?
That wasn't addressed to me.
Do you recall getting that? It was CC to you, wasn't it?
It was CC'd to me, but it was not addressed to me.
Okay. And again, I'll put them all up on the screen if you'd like. So my question was, did you get on Friday, May 12th, City Center's 6 draw request? And I think you talked a little bit earlier that you reviewed this draw request. Is that correct?
Did I review the draw request?
Yes.
Yes.
And let's take a look at the next page, 177. What was the total contract price on draw 6?
$9,400,358.
Was that the contract price throughout since the inception of the loan?
I don't know. The loan was not funded or originated by me.
Okay. You've reviewed the file.
Yes.
You reviewed the loan agreements.
Yes.
Is it your understanding that City Center and the bank anticipate $9.4 million the cost of construction for this project?
Yes.
And it's your understanding that that was the case from the inception?
It could have been, yes. It had to start with that amount and continue forward.
So you received this on May 12th, and then you responded with an email, was it on May 19th? Take a look at page 192. This was your response to the draw request?
Yes.
And you set out your 6 issues that you had?
Is that a question?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And was it your belief that City Center needed to have $210,000 in a designated Fifth Third account for each building?
At the time that the loan was funded, yes.
So as of May 19th, it's your position that Fifth Third required $840,000 from City Center in a designated Fifth Third account. Well, aren't you telling me you want it in an escrow account?
The requirement was that for them to have $210,000 per building started in an escrow account that would be used to pay bills. There was no evidence of that money being deposited to an escrow account, and that's why I asked for the evidence of that.
Correct. You wanted $840,000 deposited in a Fifth Third escrow account.
That's not what I said. I said that there was $210,000 per building that was required as equity for each building that was started.
And each one had to be deposited in a Fifth Third escrow account.
Yes.
So 210,000 times 4.
That was a cumulative number based on the equity per building started.
And as you say here, 210,000 equity contribution, 840,000.
Yes.
And you believe that that was Fifth Third's position since the beginning of the loan?
That was in the loan documents, that there was a $210,000 equity requirement for each building that was begun.
And you believe, again, Ms. Steger, that that was Fifth Third, Steiger, excuse me, that was Fifth Third's position since the inception of the loan on October 21st, 2005.
That was what was in the loan documents.
I understand that's what's in the loan documents. You believe that that's a consistent position that Fifth Third took since the beginning?
I would assume it to be so. I'm not sure. I was not involved in the initial underwriting of the loan.
Did you ever look into that?
I read the loan documents. That's what both of the parties agreed to.
That wasn't my question, Ms. Steiger. Did you look into whether that was a consistent position that Fifth Third had taken since it originated the loan?
No, I did not.
And there's nothing in the loan that would allow for a deduction from a draw request, is there?
In terms of?
Well, City Center would submit a draw request for the work it had completed. There's nothing in the loan document that said Fifth Third could make a deduction from that once it was approved, is there?
Yes, there is.
So if First Indiana comes out and inspects the work and approves it, sends it to the payment, it's your position that Fifth Third can deduct from that approved draw request?
No.
Fifth Third would have an obligation to make that payment under the construction loan. What is it?
For First Indiana, yes.
So once First Indiana has approved the payment request, the bank has an obligation to pay it.
If it's in alignment with the loan documents.
Sure. So hypothetically, if City Center submitted a $759,000 draw request, First Indiana came out and inspected and approved the $759,000 and sent an email to the bank that the $759,000 draw request is approved, then Fifth Third would have an obligation to fund it, wouldn't it?
No,
And why not?
because part of that $759,000 might have been soft costs that First Indiana would not have the authority nor the knowledge to look at.
Sure. It had to be on the construction budget, numbers that were on the construction budget, that
The hard costs.
the hard costs. So let me ask you the hypothetical another way. If City Center submitted $759,000 of hard costs, First Indiana came out and approved them, then Fifth Third would have an obligation to pay, wouldn't it?
Providing that they were in compliance on all of the other features of the loan that they agreed to.
It would be a breach of Fifth Third's obligations to deduct equity from that, wouldn't it?
To which we will object as legal conclusion.
Let me ask. It would be a violation of Fifth Third's obligations to simply deduct equity from that draw, wouldn't it?
An objection once it specifies which violation you're referring to.
Any draw request.
I don't understand your question.
take a look at tab 2B, would you? You see that's a signed, sworn statement submitted by city sign.
Yes.
It's requesting a current payment due of $759,000.
Yes.
Could you turn to the previous page? Page 19. Do you see that First Indiana approved the draw amount of $759,000?
Yes.
Would you agree that there's nothing in the loan that would allow Fifth Third to simply deduct equity from that, is there? That's not the provision, that's not how this loan was written.
I don't understand your question.
Sure. Could Fifth Third just take $210,000 off of that draw request?
I don't know.
Is there anything in the loan provision you saw that would allow them to do that?
That would allow them to deduct equity from that. These are all payments that are paid to subcontractors.
So it would be improper to deduct equity from that, as you understand the loan documents, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if anything was deducted from it.
Well, let me ask you this. Could Fifth Third deduct $210,000 from this draw request and then come back in May and say, put that $210,000 in an escrow account as well?
I don't know if that, I don't know how they could do that. I don't know what circumstances you're referring to on that.
That would be double counting, wouldn't it? If you deduct $210,000 here in December and then demand another $210,000 for the same building in May, you're asking for $420,000, aren't you?
I think that I would like to see the accounting that you're speaking of, if you want me to answer questions about it.
Well, are you aware of any provision that would allow Fifth Third to require $420,000 of equity for one building?
No, I'm not aware of that.
And if Fifth Third did that, is your understanding that would be a violation of its obligations under the loan agreement, wouldn't it?
If that was not in terms with what the agreement was, then yes.
Well, you had an understanding of the terms this morning. That's not within the terms, is it?
$210,000 per building.
And you can't deduct it from one draw and then demand it to be deposited in another account in the next.
Is that a question?
Correct. That's a question.
Okay.
So what is
Answer the
that?
question, please.
You can't deduct $210,000 of equity for a building in one draw and then come back months later and say, we want you to put $210,000 in an escrow account, okay?
If it was already accounted for, then it would have been incorrect to ask them for $210,000 for a new building.
Incorrect meaning it would be against the loan documents.
The loan documents state that there's a $210,000 equity requirement for each building. If that was satisfied on a prior draw, then it would have been incorrect to subtract it again.
And you also said you wanted to see leases. That was one of the things you wanted to see in that email, wasn't it?
Which email are we?
The May 19th email.
I'm sorry?
The May 19th email,
And where was that?
tab 6A. Page 192.
Yes, I did.
That was one of the things that you wanted to see.
Yes.
And in fact, Rich Plain got you leases, didn't he? You brought them to you. After you asked to see them.
He provided partial leases that were non-arm's length tenants?
Well, we've already reviewed the discussions of the restaurant. You know that on October 18th, before the loan was ever funded, everyone contemplated this, the plans were going to have a restaurant in this building 6. You recall we just reviewed that?
I recall.
And Mr. Plank provided you with that lease, didn't he?
He provided a partial lease, yes.
And let's take a look at tab 70 in the bank's red binder. And it's up here on the screen again. On March 1st, 2006, Joanne Botterman had signed a letter of intent for that entire building, hadn't she?
Yes.
And the bank had that letter of intent in its file, didn't it?
Yes.
And the bank also had a lease from Ms. Botterman, didn't it? It's tab 66 in the bank's documents. In the red binder. In fact, you recall, don't you, that you were meeting with Mr. Plank, he took a lunch break, he went back to his office and brought you this leaf, since this is my ex-wife.
He said it was his ex-wife.
So you knew that Ms. Botterman was formerly Joanna Plank, was his ex-wife.
You were married at the time, is what I was told.
They had legally separated, he filed for divorce, but it wasn't, she filed for divorce, but it
Check,
wasn't
that's a statement
final.
number 1, and it misstates the evidence. They were not legally separated.
What